Hi guys, so I just surfed here in Australia. Took my first surfing lesson ever, and also probably my last one. I cannot lie. Let me detail the experience here so you guys understand what went down. Okay, so to be fair, I have never really had like the desire to learn how to surf, and for good reason, I think. And I think that's like stood true over time because I literally lived in Hawaii for 2 months. Like, if I had wanted to learn how to surf, I could have done it there, but I didn't. And then I was in Hawaii before I started traveling by myself, so it's like other opportunity to potentially learn how to surf, but I didn't want to. So I'm not completely sure why I got to Australia, specifically Byron Bay, where I'm at right now, and decided, you know what? Let's go learn how to surf now. To be fair, I feel like I'm doing it more for the story than anything else. Like, how many people get to say that they learned how to surf in Australia? Well, obviously, if you're Australian, that's one thing, but as an American, I feel like that is a little bit harder to come by. So I think I did it for the story ultimately, but I just like knew that it was probably wasn't gonna be for me, but I was like, you know what? I kind of signed myself up for it on a whim, and then after that I was like, well, I've committed to it. And when I got up this morning, I was like, oh my gosh, Sophia, what did you do? Like, I can't believe I'm doing this now because I don't really want to. Anyways, we were out there for nearly 3 hours. I feel like the first hour was just kind of like demonstration. So like, we were just like in the sand, and they were like, well, it was like one instructor. He was just like explaining, you know, how to get up on the board, safety stuff, like currents, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, this is so much information to take in. Like, I am not getting any of this. Maybe not any of it, but like most of it. So I was like, we're already screwed once I get into the water because I have not captured every single detail he has shared with us. But anyways, we got into the water, and I think so it's like winter in Australia right now, which is the best part. And I think it's probably like 70. It's sunny. Like, I'm literally out here tanning because it's nice. But in general, it's been on the colder side, especially for me as like a Miami girly who just does not do cold. So I was a little worried about just like temperature, because again, I don't do cold. So I was like, if it's in water is wet and usually colder, and it was like, if we get in and I'm freezing, like that's not gonna be a fun time. Initially, it was actually okay. The sun was shining, you know, it was decently warm on the sand, and even in the water, like first, let's say like 15, 20 minutes, I was good. I was like, okay, slay. Basically, the instructor would just like take us by the board and then like send us off and was like, paddle, 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 get up. First one, I fully got up. Like, things were great. I was like, wow, I'm a natural. And after that, I could not get up anymore. I think I was just doing the whole thing wrong. And then there was this like point where I like went, you know, paddled, tried to get up, fell into the water, got hit by the board on my head. And I was like, oh gosh, like this, I feel like I'm not gonna come out alive. Because as he was like explaining, you know, I get it. Like, I'm not a water person. I usually don't partake in like water sports just because A, it feels dangerous, B, I'm not the biggest fan of like going overboard, underboard. Like, I'm not big into being in the water and being uncomfortable while I'm in the water, or like being thrown underwater, any of that kind of stuff. It's just not for me. Like, a little dip is fine. Beyond that, not a huge fan. And I think it's just like surfing is a lot of that. It's like you go under the water a lot, because when you get thrown off the board, it's like, where are you going? Into the water, and you don't really have control over your board either. Like, it's gonna go somewhere. Sometimes it's gonna pull you because you're attached to it, or it's gonna come on top of you or something like that. And that never really sits right with me. So when it hit me in the head, I was like, oh gosh, like, this is not good. I almost thought I was gonna get concussed from that experience alone. I was like, because my head hurt for a little bit, but then I was fine. Tried it a couple more times. I was like, I'm just not enjoying this. And eventually it also got really windy in the water and I was freezing because I have like 0 body fat on me. And I just kind of was like, I want to go back to the shore. And I like didn't want to offend the instructor. I mean, he was a great guy, but I was like, I didn't want to offend the instructor by being like, can I just stop? But I was like, no, like I'm not really having a ton of fun. It's just cold. I'm not getting this. I'm not really enjoying this too much. Like, it's an experience and I'm like glad I can say I had the experience, but it's like something I will never do again, I think. Anyway, so I did one more where I just kind of paddled and went onto my knees instead of trying to stand up. And that was actually fun. I could have done more of that, honestly. I just didn't really like trying to like get onto my feet because I would always get, I feel like it's like in that moment you have to just like do it naturally, and my mind could not remember how to do it properly because there's like steps. It's like you first get on your knee, then you get up, and then you like let go of the hands on the board, and then you're fully up. That's probably a bad way to describe it, but I don't know, I just kind of like I never really got it properly, and I was trying to rehearse it in my mind, but every time it like came down to it, I was just completely lost. And I was like, well, I'm not getting up on the board. Also wasn't looking in the right place either. Like, you're supposed to look forward instead of down, and I guess I kept looking down, but I didn't even realize. It's like it all happens so quickly that you just like don't pick up on what you're doing right and wrong, and you're just doing something in that moment. And then I never know where to fall either, which is like the scary part, because it's like one thing and you could like, there could be bad consequences because you're in the water and you can easily drown and stuff like that, and I just didn't enjoy that. So anyways, I think I did like 5 or 6 passes, like surf attempts, and then I was like, actually it might have been, yeah, I think it was like 5 or 6, maybe like 5 to 7. And then at that point I was like, can I go back to the shore? And he was like, yeah, go whenever. And so I was like, okay, cool. So I went. I was still freezing once I got to the shore, but I felt a lot more comfortable being there than trying to continuously attempt. And then I think I've started a trend because slowly people started following suit and like coming out as well. So yeah. And I am now tanning, which is nice. I really do prefer to just like stay on land than in the water. It's funny though, he did say, I was like paddling at some point, he's like, paddle, paddle, paddle. And he was like, wow, you're really good. Like, are you a swimmer? And I was like, no. And now I'm like, maybe I should become a swimmer. Like, I guess I've taken swim lessons before, but that's the extent of it. Definitely not a swimmer. So anyways, cheers to, oh, there's blood on my finger. Okay. Cheers to attempting to surf, and cheers to never doing it again. Oh, but it's like fun mood lighting.